So here's a guy who is horsing around, has an injury to his shoulder. Because of the excessive manipulation they did, and they didn't recognize that this nerve pressure was building up, this gentleman lost permanent nerve function to his arm. And as a result, his arm literally, he was a bodybuilder, literally withered to a small fraction of its original size because there was no longer blood supply to the nerves controlling that arm. This man underwent multiple surgeries to try and fix this, to help him, and unfortunately his bodybuilding career was over, all because the B team was on and didn't recognize this. So I bring this up because I want to ask you this question. The mere fact that a complication occurs during the course of a procedure, is that evidence of malpractice? Yes? Who says yes? Who says no? You are correct. The answer is no. The mere fact that a bad outcome occurs as a result of treatment does not in and of itself mean that there's wrongdoing. But at what point does that rise to the level that you have wrongdoing, that you have a departure from good care? When I started, remember I told you about the different categories of cases that can occur? Well, how about this scenario? You have the hernia surgery, you have some type of abdominal surgery, and during the course of the surgery, the surgeon inadvertently makes a hole in the bowel. That is known as an acceptable medical risk. It shouldn't happen, but it can happen because it's an adjacent organ. And remind me to tell you about the informed consent cases. So when you have an injury to an adjacent organ, again, people, the mindset of these injured victims are, listen, I walked in healthy to the hospital, I came out in a wheelchair, I came out paralyzed, something must have been done wrong. Well, the reality is, it may have, then again, it may not have. But when you have an injury to an adjacent organ that occurs during surgery, the doctors and the experts say that can happen. So how can that rise to the level of malpractice? It can rise to the level where the doctor and the surgical team fail to recognize that there is that injury that occurred during surgery. So if they actually recognize that the injury occurred at the time it was made, they now have the ability to correct it during the course of surgery before you wake up. And that's acceptable. If, however, they close you up, they don't recognize it, your condition gets worse, ultimately you suffer significant injury or die, that's where these things rise to the level of malpractice. The failure to timely recognize, diagnose, and treat intraoperatively a particular problem, that's where the wrongdoing occurs. And it also happens after the patient is sent home. So now the patient calls the doctor and says, "Doctor, I'm telling you, I'm having these abdominal pains." And the doctor says, "Don't worry, it's normal post-operative pain." And you're saying, "No, I'm telling you, I just don't feel right." Doctor says, "Don't worry, come back for your regularly scheduled visit." Well, they never make it to the visit. Why? Because they drop dead from a massive infection known as sepsis. And that rises to the level of malpractice.